Time is X minus 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0.
It's the Rocket Hour. Y'all are now tuned in. Time to hit the pick four that you'd love to win. If your money's coming slow, step on the faster track with your host, Ricky Pasternak. Let's go.
Good morning, everyone, and welcome back to another week and a brand new edition of the Rocket Hour. It's interesting because last week, luckily for us football fans, there wasn't too much racing to get in our way. Super Wildcard Weekend that we'll actually touch on. Before we get into today's sequence, Aaron, kind of tell me where you are. It's like Chronicles of the Haltermans. I see there's alcohol back there. I see a Sam Adams sign. Kind of give me an update as to where you are.
Yeah, quick. If you watch the live stream on Friday night, or the Blinkers Off show, I guess that was kind of two combined, I'm at Uncle Vito's bar. So actually, this is a bar that is like upstairs at my in-laws' house. They built, this used to be a bedroom. Their daughters moved out, and then boom, here it is. They made a bar out of it. So that's where I'm at. Vito's bar. Come check it out. Free drinks here all the time. So that's what we like.
Yeah, no, free anything, I think. In 2021 now, we should take a grain of salt and kind of implement into our lives. We'll get to some football for anyone who wants to stick around later. Obviously, our teams won, so we're excited about that. But let's get into it real quick. We're not going to really go over last week's stuff. I don't think there's too much to go over. I'll be honest, I was watching a lot of football and not as much racing as I'll admit here. So let's kind of kick off this week. We have a nice card again today here at Gulfstream on a Wednesday. There's plenty of stuff this weekend that we'll start to talk about maybe later today or tomorrow. So let's just start right into it. We'll start with the late pick four sequence as always, as we always do here. This is for maiden special weight three-year-old fillies going 7.5 furlongs on the turf, about 7.5 furlongs on the turf, I should say. 2 turns. I'll start. I didn't really think there were many prices that I was really interested. I'll be honest. I kind of chalked out here. I'm not going to get into all of them. I'll take my top 2. I thought Spill the Tea was interesting. Placed second at 12-1 in the debut. I kind of took a look at that race, and I really was impressed the fact she was able to consistently gain ground. It's interesting. The first quarter fraction was really, really fast in that race, so I'm not sure if she passed tired horses or was continuing to progress. So that's obviously something to always consider if the pace was just too quick and she was able to take advantage. But I do like that Julian Leparoux is going to get back aboard for Brian Lynch, who usually is in Kentucky often, and that's kind of his go-to, especially on the turf. So I was impressed there. And the other one is the 4, Gabby Squared. Those races I talked about before coming from Aqueduct, they're much better than I think people kind of anticipate. Chad Brown doesn't run often at Aqueduct, so we really want to get this one out on the track. I think that's important to note. Jose Ortiz comes back, and we'll ride here again. Miss Dracaries, I don't know if I'm pronouncing that properly, was in a big-time race last time out, so I think that race is going to come back a little bit better than we anticipate. So I'm kind of looking at 2 horses here that are going to stretch out. Again, the 2 is 4-1 on the morning line. I think that's where you're going to see her, because I'm going to leave another horse up to you to kind of talk about. So I went with the 2-4. I went with the 1-2-4, but I'll kind of let you touch on what your thoughts here and kind of break it down.
Yeah, this was a race where I didn't really have a lot of trouble picking the horses that I wanted to use, but I had a little bit of I wouldn't really even call it trouble. It's just it took some time to really decide what is the best way to attack this race from a betting perspective. And it was tough. I used the 2 that you, or actually the 3 that you just mentioned, the 1-2-4. I also threw in the 6. My top pick was the 4. So I'll get into the handicapping point of it right now. And I agree with you. I think the Aqueduct races are pretty tough, especially that meet right in between when they turn to just no turf. You know, when it's right after Belmont to when they take them off the turf. Those are usually some pretty good races and some races you can pick some horses out of. They're going to come down to Gulfstream and run well. And that's why I did put number 4, Gabby Squared, on top. 6 furlong race last time out. I think this horse will like a little bit of a stretch out to 7.5. Chad Brown, Jose Ortiz, you can't go wrong with that. The problem was I kind of looked at it and said, yeah, maybe I could bet a win here, but I'm not thrilled about this horse. Debut for Chad Brown on the turf went off at 14-1. That's not a great sign. But then I looked at some of these other horses, and I just don't have a real strong opinion on anybody. So that's why I thought, well, I think the trifecta box is going to be the best case scenario for me in this spot. But I did put the number 4 on top. I went to the number 6 with my second pick, Mail Order, coming in for Bill Mott, Junior Alvarado. Those two, when they hook up, they've been hot so far in this meeting. They've won with some prices. Look, last time out, Gulfstream Park, 7 furlong, dirt, maiden special weight, did no running whatsoever. Got to the lead and then stopped. 7.5 on the turf. Maybe the turf is what this horse wants. Looks like the lone speed to me. I think she's in with a big shot to pull an upset at 10-1. So that was really the key horse that I thought, okay, I'm really not confident to bet a win, but I do think that horse can hit the board at a price or maybe even win. So that's what really swayed me to the trifecta, that 6 horse there. So 4, 6, I also did use the 2 and the 1. I'll touch on the 2 just real quick. I think you're right. I think, last time out, I thought ran maybe the best race out of all of these horses that are coming back. It's just, do we have a progression forward off of that race? Is that race what she is? And, it's probably maybe good enough to win, but I think a couple of these are going to move forward off their last effort. So that has me a little worried about the 2, but definitely a player. And yeah, the 1, I think it's kind of a classic defensive use type. I didn't love the 1, but Todd Pletcher, Irad Ortiz, came out of an Aqueduct maiden that we just talked about, how they're usually pretty strong. Closed pretty well in that race. My biggest fear is, where does the other speed come from? Who is going to press the 6? And if nobody does, I'm not sure the 1's going to be able to close and get up and actually win. I do think the 1 can hit the board, though. That's why I used the 1 in the trifecta. So 1, 2, 4, and 5 for me. 1, 2, 4, and 6 for me.
Yeah, I don't disagree that the 6 is a price that if you want to kind of – I'm looking at this as kind of survive in advance. I didn't love anyone. I think for the 6 can definitely hit the board. My biggest issue with the 6 is everything that you said I agree with. This filly was purchased for $300,000 in 2019. So after one dirt start, they're going to put her on the turf. Now, if that was the plan all along, then I'm just reading too much into it. I don't love that situation. I would have liked to see her back on the dirt because I thought it wasn't as poor as the line might indicate. So I'm with you. I would have been completely with you if she were on the dirt. The fact that she's going to the turf here with a lot of horses that just have more turf pedigree, that's the only thing. But I do think if there were double-digit odds out there that I was seeking, at least on the morning line, that would probably be the one I went to. I'll be honest. Part of me wanted to see the 8 as a price also. I thought the 8 was horrible. But if you look at all the turf pedigree that she has, it just kind of seems to me that this was a setup for this type of spot. I don't know if she's good enough. If you're 71-1, you better improve drastically, like multiple steps. But all the pedigree and the lack of Ian Wilkes winning first time out, it is a sense to me that she's going to do better here. So I went deeper in a few other legs, and we'll kind of talk about it. That's why I didn't include her. But if I thought there was one to blow up the board, I think 12-1 is – you're not going to get that. I think you might get closer to 15-20, if not higher. So that would be kind of the long shot to me that I didn't use that I wish I could.
I thought about the 8 a little bit as well, and for all the reasons you said. And the biggest thing is, I mean, my goodness, this is turf on turf on turf, right? Like this horse really is probably bred to go a mile and a half right now. So I don't think you're going to see any of those maiden special weights at a mile and a half for 3-year-olds. So that might be a problem, but I think you're going to see some significant improvement. This was one I kind of checked mark as let's see how she runs today, and if she improves, maybe I'm going to use next out. I debated it for a while. I really did. I almost said, hey, let's just throw the 1 completely out. But it's just like, it just doesn't make a lot of sense to do that. And you would hate to have the 6 win the race, and then one of my other ones get second, and then the 1 get third, and you didn't use the 1. And it's like, wow, I missed out on a $60, $70 payout because I didn't use a stupid favorite for Todd Pletcher and Ira Ortiz. So that's kind of where my head went. But I did toss around that 8. I think you bring up a lot of good points. And if you're looking for a big price in this race, I don't think that's a bad horse to play and kind of take a swing with.
Yeah, and to your point exactly, Bill Mott comes in with better numbers. Junior Alvarado's kind of his guy. Ian Wilkes doesn't come in with the sparkling numbers, but Corey Lanerie is kind of his guy in a way, Kentucky guy. So I just think that's one to look out for. And like you said, one of the big things that I look for if they're going to be trying something for the first time is that workout on the previous surface. So the last one on January 9th was dirt. I think that was more to just get some fitness into her. The 1-2 back was 4 furlongs and just sub 48, ranked 12 out of 65. I think that might be a better indication of what she might be capable of. If she was 40-1 in her debut, I probably would have used her. The fact that 71-1, she just might not be good enough. That might be my indication. And kind of like you said, she's more let's see. If she improves, maybe we could use her in her third start. If nothing else, let's move on to the 8th race. This was, again, almost, I'll make the argument, almost a little stakes race here on the turf. Allowance optional claiming $75,000. For 4-year-olds and upward, and all that other great language in there, going 1 mile and 1/8 on the turf, 9 furlongs, 2 turns on the turf. I'll let you start. We've talked about this all the time. These turf races, like I said just a few minutes ago, this could be almost a stakes race. This is such a great field. You got shippers from all over the place. Where did you kind of land?
Yeah, this is a really tough race. I think it's the best race on the card. I'm really looking forward to it. And I agree, it could be a stakes race for sure. A lot of these horses are coming out of stakes races. A lot of, I would just say, mystery in this race as well. You could go a ton of different ways. For me, for the betting standpoint of it, I just couldn't wrap my mind around any of these very strongly. So I just went a short $5 win wager on my top choice, which is the number 6 Phantom Currency at 12-1. And listen, this horse last time out was entered in the Grade 1 Clark on the dirt. This is not a horse that needs to be on the dirt. They entered him on the dirt because he was 2 back. He was entered in a allowance that rained off the turf, and he won it, and he won it on the dirt. And so then they said, well, let's just take a shot at the Clark. That's not where he needs to be. He gets back to the dirt today. I think that is fantastic. And he also gets 1 mile and 1/8. And I really think that is Phantom Currency's best distance. And he's another one, when you look at it, just like I mentioned with the 6 in the last race, the 6 in this race, where is the other speed in this race? So if you're going 1 mile and 1/8 on the turf and you're alone on the lead by 3 or 4 lengths, by the way, if you've been watching Gulfstream this meet, it really has been favoring speed on the turf, especially when you're going 2 turns. I just thought, hey, I don't have a real strong opinion on anybody here. I'm going to take a shot with 12-1 shot and hope that he can wire the field. So I took the 6 on top. It is going to be a $5 win wager on the 6. I'll quickly run through my other horses that I used. The 2 was my second choice, Monarch's Glen. And I think, it kind of goes back to your argument a little bit when you're handicapping, and what you like is consistency. And I think the 2 very much displays that. The 4 was my third choice, coming in overseas for the first time for Grand Motion, has been running in some really tough races. The problem is, hasn't been anywhere close in a long time. This is a big class drop, though. So I do think the 4 will factor in, but the fact that he hasn't really been close, to even hitting the board for that matter, is a little bit of a negative. And then I got to throw in Endorsed. I don't really know what the plan is here with Endorsed. I'm very intrigued to see how he runs in this spot. Last year, this was a horse that had some pretty good dirt races. He's had good dirt races throughout his career. He kind of just hasn't looked very good. The last 2 efforts at the Kelso at Belmont got beat by almost 13 lengths. Last time out in allowance at Churchill was 8th, beaten 7th. So maybe they're just like, let's just try it. Let's see what happens. You look at the pedigree, it's questionable that he'll be able to handle it, but it's not out of the question at the same time. I just thought he was just interesting enough to put in the 4th spot. So I'll kick it over to you now and let you talk through him.
Yeah, I had a problem with this race too. There was another price that I'll talk about. I'll talk about the 2 horses. I agree with everything you said about Monarch's Glen. The way Danny Gargan's going and Saez, I think that makes sense to move on. The 4, look, hasn't run since October 3rd. He's going to be 6 years old now. Hasn't been anywhere close in the money in quite a long time. That horse is going to come from overseas off a layoff like that and beat me at 7-2. Well, go for it. That sure. 8-1, 9-1, 10-1. I'm in. 7-2. I'm not. Now, granted, I wouldn't be surprised to see this horse drift up. I don't see this horse getting as much play as the morning line indicates. I hope I'm right. I hope, because if this horse does drift up, I would be a little upset just because of the unknown factor. I'm not seeing it. And Endorsed, I mean, what would you point to with Endorsed to at least place a win bet? Maybe if you're going to say I don't want this horse to beat me because he's shown some talent. I mean, he finished 2nd in the Alydar, which was a restricted race. I don't know. He was 3-5, wasn't great there. AOC race, almost 3-1, horrible there. Hasn't been seen since that was Halloween Day. In a race that he probably, I would say, finished top 2. It was just really poor. If he wants to beat me at 9-2, go for it. I agree with what you said about Phantom Currency. That was definitely one I included. I'm not going to touch on him. The one Perfect Spidey is interesting to me. Shown speed, but now he's going to get the rail. The last time Perfect Spidey was in the 2 posts, so not the rail, struggled to really get into the race. I'm worried about the post position more than anything. If you look at some of the runners he's gone against, Social Paranoia, really, really good. Perfect Spidey then 1-2 starts back, so that's kind of what I was looking at. But that was at Woodbine, and I'm always skeptical of how those races from Woodbine come back. The purses there we've talked about before, always inflated. I don't know how they get inflated. I don't know what the heck is going on, but the purses there are always better. If you even get a chance to look at some of their maiden special weight races, it's like 123,000. I'm just skeptical, but I do think that drawing the rail is interesting. I do like this horse more for the consistency factor. I do like that Tyler Gaffleone picks up the mount for Roger Atfield, who doesn't have a ton of runners, who's still looking for his first winner. I think that's an interesting angle. I want to throw the 5 Sand Dancer at you. This horse is similar to Phantom Currency. So in the fact that I think this horse might be a little bit further forward than we would expect. Has 3 seconds at Gulfstream. That's not what drew me to him. I kind of like Corey Lanerie getting aboard here. For Tim Hills, who's really in the Mid-Atlantic, that's kind of where he's got his mainstay. Can he, if he's forwardly placed and is just behind Phantom Currency, I could see this horse kind of sparkling a little bit. Now, I prefer Phantom Currency, to your point. I just would hate to see a horse like Phantom Currency do all the dirty work and Sand Dancer sit right behind and pass one horse. That was my thought process. I don't know if he's good enough. Did you like him at all, or am I just kind of grasping for straws? Because I look at some of these shorter prices, and I don't want any of them.
Yeah, I don't think that's a bad play. I thought if somebody's going to screw up the trip for the 6, it would be the 1 or the 5. So I kind of agree with both of your sentiment of what you're kind of getting at. I didn't love Sand Dancer. I did like Perfect Spidey. Yeah, I do think Sand Dancer, though, you only have one option here to try to get this horse forwardly placed. I mean, this horse does its best running when it's at least close to the lead. You're drawn inside of Phantom Currency. So to me, you just kind of have to try to clear the rest of them. I thought the 5 had a better chance to get out towards the lead than the 1. I think the 1 with Tyler Gaffleone, if you watch him on the turf, he really likes that pocket trip at Gulfstream Park. So I could just kind of see him never leaving the rail of that 1, sitting him in about 4th or 5th, trying to make a move at the end. I don't think he'll ride that horse for speed out of the gate. Could be wrong. Been wrong a ton of times. So, but I think Sand Dancer, is that other one that could be a pace presence. I kind of looked at Sand Dancer of a little bit of a cheap speed almost. I don't think that horse will be around at the end, but I'm kind of with your logic. This is the race to go deep in because there is so many question marks in this race. Could Endorse love the turf and win? Yeah, but probably not, and it just goes a lot of different ways. So I agree with your logic. I think it's right. I think this is the one to go deep in. It's the one I invested the least amount of money in. And there's a reason for that. I just don't have a strong opinion on anybody. This is a race I am looking forward to watching and maybe not so much betting.
Yeah, exactly. And I look at the 5 and 6 in this way. I think the 6 is a little bit better, but are we so confident the 6 can go gate to wire? I'm not. So I looked at it and said, if the 6 can't do that and the 5 does sit off, or the 5 goes and the 6 sits off, however you are going to look at it, if this race is slow enough, no one's going to pass them. So I looked at it and said, I do want the 1 and the 5 for those pocket trip perspectives. Again, if the 4 is going to beat me, like the 4 is going to be a horse that's going to come from well out of it, more than likely. And Endorsed, he showed speed, but I don't know what he's going to do on the turf. So if a horse that's never run on the turf is going to come beat me, fine. And if a horse who hasn't run since October is going to beat me, coming from overseas, not having finished in the money since 2006, he wants to beat me also, then go for it. So I was deep. I went 1, 2, 5, 6, 8. The 8 Artie's Rumor, who we didn't get to talk about, I kind of just think he fits in here. Like, I'm not really sure what to make of him. Obviously, you get Irad Ortiz, Mike Maker. That's a powerful combination. The distance was a little interesting. He did do it at Keeneland, but he was never really that far back. I think he's going to be a little bit further back. I just didn't want him to beat me. I think that was, for me, more of a combination play, a connection play, I should say, between Maker and Irad. He always just kind of puts in a good performance, kind of like you said about Monarch's Glen and kind of the point we made about Perfect Spidey, more so Monarch's Glen. He's always just kind of solid. So that's where I went. I wasn't as strong on him, but I figured I don't want him, a Mike Maker Irad, to beat me.
Yeah, Iowa bred too. How about that? And Iowa bred at Gulfstream Park. You don't see it very often, but this horse has proven that he can run outside of open company. I think if it all falls apart in the end, this horse has a shot. I think he's very pace dependent in a race like this. If I'm sitting here projecting a gate to wire winner has a great shot, then I can't use the 8. That's kind of where it fell for me.
No, exactly right. This was more of a if it falls apart. 5 and 6 don't look like they have the ability to probably rate, which kind of leaves the 1 and potentially the 2 to sit there, and the 8 would kind of need it to fall apart. I agree. Race 9, claiming 20,000 through 16,000 for 3-year-olds, going 1 mile, 1 turn, 8 furlongs on the dirt. I was pretty straightforward with this race. I'll be honest. I think the 2 Hercules is just a standout on paper. Doesn't have a win at the distance, but has gone a mile, which I do like. I just think this horse is just so much better. You could make the argument to me that he hasn't finished in the money only once since breaking his maiden. I mean, some of these races, all these horses that are finishing 5th, 6th, and 7th would beat this field quite easily. I do like the fact in this situation he's going to come back with only 10 days. It kind of indicates to me that the horse came out well and he just didn't have anything and wasn't used. Going to be a short price, but I think IRAD picking up for a Florida trainer is important too. There's no other way to say it than this is just a massive class drop. So you could be on it and say this horse is just no good, and that's why he's dropping in. I'm going to look at it and say some of these horses that he faced are just better. I do have another horse I want to talk about, but where did you kind of see Hercules? Were you in my camp, or were you in I don't want anything to do with this horse at all?
Yeah, I'm 100% in your camp. To the point, if the 2 loses this race, I will never bet another win bet on a claiming race ever again. I mean, I thought the 2 Hercules is such a standout here. It's ridiculous. And let's say Hector Berrios has the mount today, and I see this, and I still think, well, Hercules still looks pretty good on paper. But then Irad Ortiz says, hey, I'll jump aboard this $20,000 claimer for a trainer that I've rode for twice in the last year. That to me is just the biggest indication of all that this horse has been entered to win. You know, they're entering the horse to pick up a win. They've tried him several times in the allowance and starter allowance ranks, and he's just not good enough. So we're going to put him in a straight 3-year-old claimer for $20,000. You know, it's such a class drop. I'm with you. $20 to win on the 2 is my play. This is my strongest play on this 4-race sequence. And yeah, I mean, it simply should outclass the field. Speed figures look better. You know, any way you want to go, this horse looks like a standout to me. Another horse that I think is interesting that I would use if you're going to get into the exotics is the 4 Siddharth. I kind of talked about this last week. I like a horse sometimes when they're spotted, how they should be, I should say. I like a horse that runs in a few 4, 5, 6 maidens, doesn't win, then finally wins. I like that horse next time out. It's like a light bulb came on with them, and they're going to run better than they have because they figured out, hey, that's what I'm supposed to do. That's how I win a race. Love also that he won the race over this track. I love that he's got some early speed that he showed in that last race. So there's some good enough angles for me to say, yeah, I kind of like the 4 a little bit. I also used the 5 and 6 strictly as underneath plays. Didn't love them, but you know, both of them are coming off wins, so that's a good thing. But you got to look at something, you know, 16. Like let me go back here. The 4 won a $16,000 maiden claimer. The 5 $16,000 maiden claimer. The 6 $15,000 maiden claimer. They're not winning real strong races, right? It's pretty bad. And then you look at the 2. He broke his maiden in a maiden special weight. A maiden special weight compared to a 16K claimer, that is one of the biggest class differences you'll ever see. And so that's why, for all those reasons, for me, I just think the 2 is a slam dunk in the spot.
Yeah, I don't disagree. I think the 2 is the horse to beat. A lot of the horses that are going to take money, to your point, are horses that are coming off maiden claiming wins and what I call climbing the ladder. Now going to face winners for the first time. That's the 4, that's the 5, that's the 6, and the 9. The 9 is the horse that I included, and I'll make this point. The 4, I hate to say it, we usually agree on so many things. I hate horses that finally get the job done, where it's like we're gonna kind of predict this horse is gonna run this way 2 times in a row. If it's possible, sure, I'll let him beat me. We'll get Lasix, maybe that helps inject some speed. Who knows? I do like that Edgard's Eyes picks up the mount again. The 5 I didn't use, but I would lean to a little bit more because maybe they just misplaced him the first time out at the 32,000 level. And he did lose out to a next out winner in Beaster. So I think that race comes back a little bit tougher. I am with you in the 6's camp, Hickerson. That was a horse that I found a little bit interesting. Coming down from Churchill Downs, I don't love those maiden claiming races, but I do like the professionalism that he showed. At 7-1, I do like horses that are going to be in those long shot range, or 7-1 or a little bit higher, probably double digits now. How they ran, I don't love horses that are double digit odds. I like to see them again at double digit odds because you can kind of expect something similar. The 9, tell me what you thought of the 9, and I'll make the case for him. I think they might have misplaced this horse from the start. This horse won at Tampa Bay Downs, which is definitely lower level than Gulfstream. That's fine. But after getting bumped at the break, he was extremely, extremely professional. I would make the case that he probably ran at a level that he was better than. I don't know if he just wiped the field. I would say that I'm not too familiar with the Tampa Bay Downs condition books, I'll be honest. I wouldn't be surprised if he should have really debuted at maybe the 25,000 level. And I'll make the case that if he does at the 25,000 level, I'm guessing you probably would have included this horse if he ran a similar race. Now, he might not win by 4. I'm just looking at all the horses, and I say this is the one that is climbing the ladder, even though, to your point, the 4 and 5 and the 6s are as well. I just think they might have just didn't really know what they had. I think we agree the 2 is the horse to play if we're just – but I'm interested in the 9 kind of just to see how he does in a second start, because I think to be honest, he didn't belong at that level when he made his debut.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of things to like about the 9. Kind of had a rough start at the beginning of that race. I went back and watched the replay, and it's like, yeah, he ran a pretty strong race. $16,000 maiden claimers at Tampa just aren't good. I mean, there's just no way around me saying that. And I love Tampa Bay Downs. It's not a knock on that track, but that level is just not very strong there. And so now you're moving from Tampa to Gulfstream. Even though I don't think this field's great, I definitely think it's a major upgrade from what he faced last time out. But I do like that, new connections, got Avilia as a trainer, and Harmio going to ride. That's an upgrade from what he had in his debut at Tampa. I labeled him as mystery horse. I didn't hate him. I didn't love him. I do think he's going to take some money. So if you're going to try to play like an exactor or a try, I leaned against him for that reason, because I think what people are going to look at, and they're going to see that 4-length win, and they're going to go, wow, well, none of these other horses are doing much, and this horse just won by 4. I'm going to bet him again, but I do think the class is going to be a bit of a struggle for him. This is a whole different level of horse, and it could be my bias against Tampa horses coming to Gulfstream. I've never really liked that angle, and you could be right. Maybe they just debuted this horse way too low, didn't know what they had. Maybe the trainer wasn't quite, if you look at the trainer that this horse had, not really one that sticks out on paper. Maybe he was just a little clueless on where to enter the horse. There could be a lot of factors, right? But I don't blame you for using him. I'm not going to knock you for using him, but he was just one there were too many red flags, I guess, for me. So I couldn't get behind him.
Yeah, and I think he is a mystery horse, and we kind of know how the 4 is going to run. We kind of know how the 5 is going to run, and maybe the 6 is a little bit more of a mystery also. I just wanted another mystery horse just in case the 2 didn't show up, which I don't think is going to happen. I think the 2 will show up, and that's Hercules. So I said, look, maybe this 9 horse is much better than this group, and if he is, he could beat the 2 if the 2 is just no good. But we're kind of going in the 2 is the solid runner. Let's kick off the last race, because I found this one to be just as confusing as the 8th. This is claiming 35,000 through 25,000 for 4-year-olds and upward, going 5 furlongs on the turf. This is my favorite race. I love these sprints. I'll let you kind of kick it off in terms of where you were looking and how, I guess, you were kind of going through this race.
Yeah, this one is, it seems like we talk about this level of race almost every damn day on this show, right? I mean, another 5 furlong race on the turf for 35,000. Great. Yeah. So, listen, this is a tough one. It's what I say on the show a lot. It was a classic trifecta box type race for me because it's wide open. A lot of places you can go, a lot of horses you can play. And even if you get a couple favorites in the number, it's still going to pay decent. And that's how this sets up. So just real quick, I went a 50-cent trifecta box, 1, 3, 4, 5. I'll kind of go through in order who I liked. And I did like the favorite number 3 Mai Tai my tie went on. I hadn't read that out loud. That's hilarious. I did go with this gelding on top. Listen, I hate the layoff. I'll be honest, but I love the connections. And I think if this horse gets back to his race 2 back, which was a 5 furlong allowance on the turf at Gulfstream Park, he will win, and he will win, fairly easily. The reason why I don't have a win bet on this horse is I haven't seen him in 192 days. He's 7 years old. Sometimes it takes a gelding a little bit longer to get back. And you look at Celebelli's record off long layoffs, it's not great. So I think the horse is a use off talent, but I don't have a real strong opinion that he'll win. Our friend Dennis says he likes a price in this race. I like, for the second spot, I like number 1, Donnell's Creek. This horse is 12-1 on the morning line. Going to get on the turf for the first time. And if you look at this horse, his best surface has been on the synthetic. He's won twice at Arlington Park on the synthetic. Then 4 races in a row on the dirt, really never looked great. Last time out again on the dirt, definitely his best dirt effort, got second in a $30,000 claimer at Keeneland. Now we're going second off the layoff. You've got Leparoux aboard, who I like on the turf. I think the horse, if there is a lot of speed in the race, which these 5 furlong races, they tend to be pretty quick up top, I think the 1 could come at a price. And so at 12-1, I thought that's a good horse to throw in the try. So just real quick on the other ones, I did like the 4, another horse coming off of a layoff, but Paco Lopez aboard, he seems to win these kind of races all the time at Gulfstream. This horse has early speed, but doesn't have to be on the lead. I like that in these 5 furlong events. A lot of times these races are won by horses that are sitting 3rd, 4th, and just kind of pass the speed and go on with it. And you look such a consistent horse. I mean, he hits the board almost every time. A lot of wins on there, especially in the last few starts. So like that one, and the 5, Cantharos's Image. Another one, just kind of a consistent horse, kind of more of a use, I think, in my opinion. I haven't looked at your ticket, don't know if you used the 5, but for me, it was more of this horse is probably going to hit the board, but maybe not win. And so I kind of needed to have that horse involved. So that's where I landed. It's a wide open race. 3-1-4-5 was my order there.
Yeah, I'm with you on the 3. The layoff is concerning, but you just look at some of those races. If you kind of eliminate every time he's gone longer than 5 furlongs, he's a pretty good horse. He's finishing the money in all of his starts, 2 of those being wins, 2 of those being second. So he's finishing the top 2, 4 out of 5. I'll be honest, all those races, like I said, probably shouldn't have been in any of those more than the 5 furlong. That's not. He likes to close at a short distance. It's really, really tough to place a win bet on a horse like that, just because of traffic problems, just because of how far back he's going to be. But he runs really good races and will be closing. I like the 1 a little bit. I just don't know what type of form he's in these days. 1 race in 2020 wasn't bad. I just see too many class droppers coming in that's going to make the field better. If he was running against strict runners at this level, I completely love that horse. But there just looks like too many class droppers. I like the 3, like you talked about. He's probably just not good enough to run at this level. I do like Leparoux on the turf, like you do as well. So that's a plus. The 4, I don't know. I look at the 4, and the biggest difference between the 4 and my long shot, the 9 Cryogenic, they faced each other in the past. It was a long time ago, and they kind of bopped back and forth. Granted, that was literally almost a year ago. But if we're going to look at these 2 runners, and I'll make the case that Cryogenic hasn't put forth the performances, I'll take 12-1 over 9-2. I think the races here at Gulfstream are not as strong, nearly as strong as some of those allowance races. The biggest concern for me is that he's no longer with Mike Maker. That's my concern, not necessarily the horse. because he faced, like we talked about Faya, I think last week.
Mhm.
Maxwell Esquire is a quality turf horse on the Naira circuit. So those horses are just better. I don't think it's a problem losing to those horses. The fact that Maker's no longer training and now it's Daniel Pitta or Pita, whatever. I don't love that. But again, I think he's pretty similar to Captain Ron, to be honest, and I'll take the price there. I don't know how that's far back, but I'll be willing to take the 12-1 shot. The horse that I really liked, though, was the 10, 7 Gems. I see this horse really just sitting the perfect trip. The 3 is going to be really far back, but I think the 5 will show some speed. I think the 6, Fast Loaded, will be on the lead also. I just kind of see this horse getting the right spot. He's not a better closer, but he looks like the type of horse that's going to be sitting in that second tier, maybe just has to pass a couple. Does have 2 wins at the distance. And Steve Caceres has been really, really strong here at Gulfstream. Is that a horse you considered at all? I think 6-1 is probably a fair price on him also.
Yeah, absolutely one I considered. It was one of those deals for me. I think this horse is going to get bet down. And I thought to myself, this is one I could kind of beat because while, yes, I do agree this horse has a good shot, it also is a race where they all have a good shot. So I don't want to take a bet down horse in this spot. The thing I really liked about the 10 is kind of the same that I kind of liked about the 4 is this is a horse that kind of has the running style that it takes to win a race here. Especially at the $35,000 claimable level, it just seems like you need to be pretty close to the lead, and the 10 should sit it. He draws outside of all the other speeds, so there's a lot of good things. The thing I really just kind of was ho-hum on about this horse, damn, does it not seem like he should have won his last 2 or 3 starts? I mean, he gets perfect trips almost every time, and he doesn't finish the deal. Granted, last time was an allowance race at Gulfstream, so yeah, that's fine. But lost a 12,000 claimer at Monmouth. Lost a starter allowance at Laurel. I just lost an allowance at Delaware. I hated that, and I just thought, well, maybe he trips out, maybe he gets third, maybe he beats me, but in the end, it was almost kind of like I was against Gatsby. I don't remember what day that was. Wins Thursday or Friday of last week. It's just like, yeah, the horse is good enough, can probably win, but think it's going to get bet hard. And just a lot of losses where I think the horse should have won on the resume, So yeah. That was just kind of my idea of, yeah, I'll take a shot against him, hoping that's one that gets bet down, and then I can beat that horse.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. I can go through a few excuses for the 10. I'm not going to do that. I agree. He probably will get bet down. One horse I really want to talk about real quick before we wrap up, the 8-3 Outlaws. This is a horse that's taken money consistently, like Cryogenic, dropping out of some of those allowance races. Now, granted, Cryogenic has come to Gulfstream before, obviously much further in the past, but in his most recent start, on December 11th. Did you like the 8 at all? I mean, this is a significant class drop. I mean, Kathleen O'Connell's done well. I'm making a case for the 8. I didn't use the 8. I don't know if I want to be missing out on a horse like this that also might be sitting a decent trip also.
Yeah, it's just one of those things you can't use them all type of thing. And in this race, you'd kind of like to because, yeah, I mean, with the right trip, this horse has a shot. Gonna have to be, we've talked about a lot of horses that, hey, I think he'll be sitting 3rd or 4th. Well, some of them won't. Some of them are going to have to be further back. And this was kind of a candidate to one that's like, maybe in a normal race, yeah, they're sitting a little better. I kind of projected the 8 would have been like, or might be like 6th, 7th, or 8th as they turn for home. And I don't think he has enough, has enough of a closing kick to get the job done. So, I mean, did I like him? Sure, somewhat. Do I really think it's one I needed to use or I regretted? Not so much. The 10, sure. I could regret that, not using that, because I think that horse just has the right tactics. The 8 kind of a thing. If the 8 beats me, it's like, well, I don't think I could have gotten there. I would have had to, go 6 or 7 deep to get to that 8. Real quick, I want to touch on Dennis. He loves a long shot in here. He's on the 6. He says speed going 5 furlongs. Think he could be the lone speed on paper. The 6, I'll be honest, Dennis, not one I considered at all. But Ricky, did you consider the 6?
If this was this time last year, I would have. Coming off of that one turf start. This is interesting. I don't disagree about the lone speed aspect, but in his most recent starts, which were April 16th of 2020 and June 12th, that horse quits. He's the horse that he's gonna give you one good pump at the gym. He's gonna be benching really, really well, and then he just stops. Like after 10 minutes, he's I'm good. Now, granted, he will go 5 furlongs this time around. I don't really understand. I'll be honest. I don't really understand why this horse never went 5 furlongs again on the turf.
Yeah.
It wasn't that. That's my question. Because if this horse had done that, I don't know. We'd probably have a better idea of where this horse belongs. This horse, literally, his one race going 5 furlongs on the turf was the best race he's ever run. So I can't figure it out. If this horse beats me, sure, like no big deal. But like, I kind of get it. I just see there's a lot of other speed in this race also. And again, this isn't the form he was in 2019. Again, if this was this time in 2020 before COVID, then I probably would love this horse. But going off of his form, we're talking almost 7 months ago, 8 months ago, whatever.
Yeah.
No thanks. There's a reason this horse hasn't been on the turf in so long.
He is extremely confusing. And I mean, I see what Dennis is getting at a little bit. I definitely think the horse is going to be one of the ones out in front. But yeah, like you run on the turf, second out, starter allowance, like you said, probably best race of your career. And it's 4 straight dirt races. And I understand he broke his maiden on the dirt. All right. So I understand. Let's try to put him on the dirt a couple times. But I mean, when you get beat, 2 races back by 20 plus links, I think it's time to put this horse back on the grass. So yeah, listen, he's going to be part of it. I think he will definitely give you a thrill, because I do think he's going to get out, if not on the lead, he'll be up front. And I think you're going to get a thrill. And listen, hopefully he can hold on. We kind of had a horse similar to this last week, and I forget the name of the horse now, but just kind of had some weird dirt resume when he should be running on the turf, and he almost wired the field. So it could happen again. And in the last race at Gulfstream, sometimes you get some wild results. So I don't think it's the worst race to take a shot in. That's for sure. No,
yeah, and I'll be honest. If I didn't go deep in the 8th race or the second leg of the sequence, I would have gone a little bit deeper here. To be honest, if I'm going to go with the 6, I'm probably taking them all. So, and I'm not going to hit the all button in a 10-horse field. So I have to draw the line somewhere. So, yeah, I mean, the 6, again, if he's going to get back to the turf and he wins, I'll say, all right, you can't use him on the dirt, but you can use him on the turf. All right, fine. I just think they're horses that are better. Before we get to what I think will be the most entertaining segment, let's rattle off our sequence. I'll start. I went with the 1, 2, 4 in race 7, 1, 2, 5, 6, 8 with the 2, 9 in race 9, and 3, 5, 9, 10. And I'm banking on the 2 in race 9, Hercules. I'd love to get the 9, but I think there are a lot of horses after the 2 that makes sense. So I'm really banking on Hercules almost as a single. You can cut that significantly if you want to single the 2. I think that's a strong play as well.
Yeah, I mean, if you want to single a 2, a horse like the 6 in the last is one you can afford to throw in. So yeah, I mean, that's a good way to put it for sure. All right, for me, race 7, I went a 50-cent trifecta box, 1, 2, 4, and 6. Really hoping the 6 gets in the number, meaning finishes first, second, or third. That's going to spice things up. If not, still going to get decent payout, I think, but the 6 is really a big key there. Race 8, that's the one I just didn't have a strong opinion on at all anywhere. I went $5 to win on the 6, who is a 12-1 morning line, so let's hope we get that. Race 9, I thought the number 2 Hercules was a slam dunk. So $20 to win on the 2. And then race 10, we just talked about it a lot. And boy, you can just go so many different ways. We had people on the chat making cases for horses that we didn't even use, but they make sense still. So I just went, I think it's a perfect trifecta race. I went 50-cent trifecta box, 1, 3, 4, 5. Total investment $49 today.
So that is it for the ponies, and that's obviously why we're here. And we obviously appreciate all of you tuning in and giving us advice, comments, hating us, not hating us, all that great stuff. We love all of it. But there was football this past weekend, and I'll be honest, I was involved watching every game, every minute. I'm sure you were as well. I'm not going to speak for you. This is interesting as we talk real quick. Wednesday is like that time. Are you still recapping last week? Or are you kind of looking forward? We'll do a little bit of both. I'll go through the recaps real quick. Bills over the Colts 27-24 is a really close game. It didn't pick up until the fourth quarter. Josh Allen did just enough. I think we could both kind of agree that the Bills are the better team and the team that people want to see. The Rams game was interesting. Russell Wilson was just absolutely dreadful. 11 of 27 for 174 yards and 2 touchdowns. He was horrible. He threw a pick 6. Jared Goff was, I guess, what I would say the relief pitcher for John Wolford. And Goff did well enough to give the ball to Cam Akers, and they eked it out. They will be relying on their defense. Tom Brady, same old deal. I mean, this guy is unbelievable. They only won by 8, 31-23. I'll make the case. When I was here last week, I said I like the Bucks -9. I was really upset. Should have won by more. Taylor Heineke, I think you earned yourself a backup job in this league, so congratulations to you. The Ravens, 20-13. I'll be honest. After the first quarter, it was kind of domination. We'll talk about this a little bit more in depth here. They dominated kind of from the second quarter on. There was a missed field goal by Justin Tucker that really could have sealed it, could have made it 23-13. And I'm a Raven fan, so we're going to talk about that. Definitely Saints over the Bears, 21-9. I have nothing else to say. That game was horrible. The Browns and Steelers was probably, I'm going to say the second best game of the weekend. I think the Bills-Colts were the best game, in my opinion. The Browns 48-37. Let's start there. Forget about the recaps, because I think, to be honest, all the teams kind of won that we expected to, outside of maybe the Seahawks. But we kind of look at the Rams now and say, I don't really know what they're going to do moving forward. So I'll start with the Rams with you. Do they have any chance in Lambeau? Do they have any chance at all?
No, I don't think so. I think the Rams, they have a very good defense. There's no question about it. I think they can give Green Bay some problems, but no. I thought that was all about Russell Wilson and just how terrible he played the second half of the season. And I kind of thought, well, playoffs, he'll turn it on. He was awful. To me, and a lot of times when quarterbacks get established, they win a Super Bowl, and maybe rightfully so, they get a pass. They don't really get a lot of media, pressure or criticism. Russell Wilson was god-awful the second half of the season and in this game. He was just bad. And if Lamar Jackson had a game like that, if Baker Mayfield had a game like that, they would want them out of it. They'd trade them, get rid of them, cut them, whatever. But, since it's Wilson, he just kind of doesn't ever get criticized. But he was horrible in that game. Rams had a lot to do with it, but he had a lot to do with it as well. Listen, I want to get back to the Browns. This game was insane from the very start. I'm at my in-laws. I'm sitting down with my father-in-law, and I said, "Hey, we have one shot. We got to get out to a great start. We just have to get out to a great start, get ahead, and hopefully it can hold on." And then right when I say that, they snap it over Big Ben's head the very first play. The Browns score a touchdown. Next possession, interception. This house was going crazy. This is an old house that I'm in right now. It was about to fall down by the time we got to 28-0. So, yeah, that was exciting. I'll ask you now, moving forward, any chance for the Browns this week?
I do. I think they have a shot, not because of what I've seen. I'll be honest. I don't think Baker won the game. I think the Steelers lost it.
Yeah.
So that's not his fault. All he's got to do, his job is to have more points on the board than the other team at the end of the game.
Yep.
He did that. It certainly helps when Marquise Pouncey's snapping the ball for a touchdown on the first play of the game. Yeah. It certainly helps when the Steelers have 5 turnovers. It certainly helps when there are interceptions. It certainly helps when you have Juju doing TikToks in the middle of the game. It certainly helps when Chase Claypool is telling us that the Browns are the same old Browns. It certainly helps when there's no leadership. It certainly helps when Big Ben is blaming everyone else, but Le'Veon Bell's thriving and Antonio Brown's thriving. It certainly helps when the coach won't get fired. So all of those factors lead me to believe that the Steelers are just losers. Okay, fine. The Browns have a chance because of what I haven't seen from the Chiefs. They haven't won by double digits in weeks. Mahomes hasn't played in weeks. They were horrible when he did last play against the Falcons. Look, is Patrick Mahomes the most talented quarterback in the league? Yes, he is. Does the most talented quarterback win the Super Bowl every year? No, he does not, because Aaron Rodgers probably have about 7 of those rings right now. So I do give the Browns a chance. The problem that the Browns would run into, can they get into a shootout? Because you can't hold the Chiefs to 24 points. The Falcons did it. To be honest, I think the Chiefs were just off their game. But I think the Browns will have to score at least 27. And I think any normal and sane Browns fan would agree you're going to have to get 27 or 4 touchdowns on the board, whether that's 2 field goals and 3 touchdowns, however you want to get, even if it's a safety. You got to get to 27 to 28, probably even 30. And I think they could do that. They have the run game. So Nick Chubb, Kareem Hunt, you got to put on your Peyton Hillis boots, and you got to strap up, and you got to carry the ball 50 times combined. Baker, be ready to run yourself a couple times, because that's the only way they could win. But I do think they have a strong chance to cover for the points that we just made. I like the Chiefs to win the game, but I think this is the Browns versus the world. And I saw this when the Ravens had this going on, when they had Joe Flacco and they had the miracle in Denver. And then they had, they beat Tom Brady, and then they beat Colin Kaepernick. I've seen this before with teams. So when you get hot, and the Browns just might be hot, we'll see how the Chiefs. I think we'll know really quick about the Chiefs after the first quarter. Are they going to be in a funk early? Are they going to kind of get out of it? They have the pedigree to get out of it. It's just kind of like a horse, a few bad starts, but you just know that horse has something in him, he or she. And I think the Chiefs have enough to win, but I don't know. I would definitely think about taking the Browns with some points.
I think the Browns are in big trouble. I think it's going to be bad, but I thought it was going to be bad this week. Or last week, I should say. I think it's going to be like 45-20 type of game. You look at the secondary. Dennis, you kind of made a point. What was it? What was the house like when Pittsburgh was coming back? It was bad, and like the announcers kept saying, they're in a prevent, but that was the defense they had to play, because they couldn't. They got beat deep so bad the week before against the Steelers. They just pushed everybody back and didn't let anybody get behind them, and it was very frustrating. And thank God Mike Tomlin punted. I thought that was the key to the whole game. It's 35-23. The Steelers have just been moving the ball all over the field on us. It's 4th down and a yard from like the 45-yard line, and he punted the ball. That was a huge key to the game. That turned the whole game around. But I think Browns are in trouble. Before we get off though, we can't all talk about the Browns. Let's talk about the Ravens. I thought it wasn't the way I expected them to win, but I absolutely agree they dominated that game. And I think their defense really played well. I think that's the biggest key of all. You can talk about Lamar, this, that, all you want. Their defense have kind of struggled through a lot of the season. Looks pretty good right now. They're going to Buffalo. I think they can definitely win this game. So let's hear it from the Ravens fan. I think the Ravens have a much better chance of winning than the Browns. Let's put it that way.
Yeah, I definitely agree there, and I think anyone who's watched football season would agree. I was talking about the spread. Again, I think the Chiefs have enough to win. They'll kind of find that mojo, and again, sometimes they could just get complacent when you're that good, and you can kind of turn on the switch. Baltimore absolutely dominated the trenches on both sides of the ball after the first quarter. If you eliminate the first quarter, and I think it was maybe more of the Titans kind of just feeling themselves. I'm not going to get into what I thought was an offensive pass interference on A.J. Brown for the first touchdown. That's another conversation for another time. They were dominated, absolutely dominated from quarters 2 through 4. And it didn't show me anything of what I didn't already know. But I'm sick and tired of people telling me Lamar can't do this. Lamar can't do that. Lamar hasn't shown the ability to do this. We can't trust him in this. Well, how about this, folks? Find me another guy who can at least pass to a decent completion percentage, not Mahomes, not even Baker, but run like that. I know you're a Kyler Murray fan. I'll take Lamar Jackson over Kyler Murray on Monday through Sunday and at 12:01 in the morning. There's something about I try to explain, and I watch every Lamar game, almost every interview. I'm a nerd when it comes to him. He just doesn't look like the guy you want to bet against. And I'm not saying that's going to carry you through life, but there are just some people that you kind of just think they're going to figure it out. And I'll be honest, if he didn't win this game, he would have had to face the same questions, and I would have been like, maybe he doesn't. But he got that monkey off his back. And I'll be honest, what has Josh Allen proven? I don't know. He beat a Colts team that wasn't all that great. They struggled against the run. If we're looking forward here, Josh Allen's 2 playoff games was a game they should have won at Houston last year and a game they barely beat the Colts in. Okay, Lamar has 3 games, not much more. But one thing that we haven't talked about, the styles of games. You could bring your defense on the road and you could bring your running game on the road. That bodes well. Cleveland has the same similar thing. Not as good of a defense as Baltimore, but they can run. They'll bring that on the road, though. They could run. If they can't run, they're not going to have a chance. They will not outshoot the Chiefs. The Ravens will not outshoot the Bills. But when you're talking about the trenches, the Colts really got to them up front with their O-line and their D-line. I think the Ravens match up very, very, very well against this team. I think the Browns match up much better against the Chiefs than the Ravens do. So I was very excited to see them get the Bills. And in a backhanded way, I have to thank the Browns, because if the Browns lost, the Ravens would have been headed to Kansas City. I do like the Ravens in this game. Again, I'm a little biased, but when you really take a look at it, what the Ravens can do to you up front is very similar to what the Colts can do up front. And when the Ravens played the Colts, they had that really head-on battle back in Indianapolis, and they used a fumble recovery for a touchdown, and that's the play where Phillip Rivers is falling back and the Ravens defenders jumping over him. So I expect them to play a similar style. And I'll be honest, some of these Ravens receivers, Hollywood Brown, Mark Andrews, Miles Boykin, some of these guys are stepping up, and they're not going to have big box scores. It's not going to be a Devontae Adams. It's not going to be a Jarvis Landry. Can you give me 5 catches for 45 yards? If you can do that from 3 guys, that's going to be enough. It's going to be ugly. I think it's going to be ugly. I think it's going to be a little bit 24-17-ish, maybe 24-21. I do like the Ravens. I think they match up well. Real quick before we finish, what has the trash talk been between you and the number 1 Mahomes fanboy? Because I've said this before. I know when Lamar plays well when I don't get a text from him.
Yeah.
I know when Lamar doesn't play well when I see a text at 1:34 saying, look at Lamar. It's midway through the first quarter or just the beginning of the second quarter, and look at Lamar. But when it's like I don't even have to watch the game. So I want to ask you guys are tighter than ever. You've had the website forever. You know he's a Chiefs fan through and through. You are an Oklahoma fan through and through, supporting Baker. Has there been a friendly wager? Has there been anything like that? Are you guys not talking to each other? Are you keeping it professional? What is the game plan, or how do you attack this week?
Yeah, no wager because I have no confidence in my team. It's kind of one of those deals where it's like, I have absolutely nothing to lose here. If the Browns lose, well, yeah, they should lose to your Chiefs. They're the Browns, you're the Chiefs. I mean, and if they win, it's kind of just like, you walk down the road and find $100. I mean, that's really what it is. There is no expectations for me coming into this game. There absolutely will not be any trash talk from my end coming into the game. I know what it's like to root for a big time team, and I know that trash talking is ridiculous. That's something Jared is yet to learn. I think because the Chiefs have been so bad for so long, he doesn't understand how to act when he roots for a winner. I think that's the big thing right there. Like last week, he's texting me saying, "Well, hell, I could play quarterback and could have won this game for the Browns." So, yeah, he will not let me enjoy Baker Mayfield having the success that he's had at all, and that's fine. I don't go down that road, and I never will, because I root for winners, and I know what it's like to be a classy fan. So, no trash talk for me. Listen, I think we'll get smoked. If I was a Ravens fan, I would feel not confident, but I feel pretty good that you got a shot. You got a shot to win it. As a Browns fan, I've watched them all year. I know they're not a great team. I know they're gritty. I know they're getting better. I know they're pretty good, but that's where it ends. And the Ravens have a chance to be a great team, and they do because of the defense. This defense is really, really improved over the last few weeks. It's a huge game. I think the Ravens-Bills, it is such an evenly matched game. I think it'd be the best game of the week, no question.
Yeah, no, I agree. And it's interesting because I think the Chiefs and Bills are similar, but the Chiefs are a little bit better. They like to air it out. I think the Browns and Ravens are similar, but I think the Ravens are a little bit better. So when you're kind of ranking the teams, you kind of say the Chiefs are 1 and the Browns are 4 on paper. Mm-hmm. And you say the Bills are 2 and the Ravens are 3 on paper. Yep. I think teams 3 and 4 play similarly. And I think teams 1 and 2 play similarly. So I think that's kind of where we're at. Real quick, you won't be around on Friday, so we're going to go through the other 2 games real quick. Give me your take on Rams, Packers. I assume we're both kind of on the Packers here.
Yeah, Packers for me in that game. I think they cover late. I think the game will be closer than you think for a while, but I do think the Packers cover late in that game.
Yeah, I'm with you. I don't think it's really close. I think we saw what the Titans tried to do with their running the ball in Green Bay a few weeks ago, and I think Aaron Rodgers was laughing his way to an MVP because I think he kind of clinched it. I think it's a blowout. I think it's the worst game of the week. It's good. Folks, if you have anything to do Saturday night, try to get it done Saturday at 4:35 because you won't be missing much. Bucs Saints. I'll just leave it at this. I don't know what's going to happen. I haven't done a ton of research. I want to look into some more things. I just don't know if anyone's ever beaten Tom Brady 3 times in a season. So good luck doing that if you're Drew Brees. But I will say they have a lot of weapons, but Brady's playing the best football. I think this can go either way.
Gun to my head, I'll take Tampa. I'm with you. It's kind of weird, right? Because New Orleans has just dominated Tampa twice. But when I watch New Orleans play literally any other team, even the Bears last week, it's like this team is kind of trashy. Like they're not that good. Like Drew Brees looks like he's 85 years old out there. Like I watch Tampa, and it's like, damn, Tom Brady's still pretty damn good. And then you watch the Saints, and it's like, this motherfucker needs to retire. Like he looks old. But then when you watch them play each other, it's the opposite. So I really don't know. I think this is going to be a fun game to watch. I wouldn't touch this game from a betting standpoint. Like say, if you said you have to pick this game, I would pick Tampa. But I don't know. I think this is a really wide open game.
I would also, for everything you just said, I'm not going to touch on it. I would say, just don't doubt the GOAT.
Yeah.
Just don't. Be very careful when doing that. It's just beating a team in anything 3 times, not baseball because you play them so many times, but college basketball, I've seen it, college football. It's just don't do it. And he's playing really, really well on top of it all. So that's kind of it. I know you'll be back tomorrow, so we'll kind of wrap up what we did today, preview tomorrow, and then Curtis will be on Friday. I'll get his take. He is a California guy. He is a Pittsburgh Steeler fan, so I will not give him any Steeler garbage, but I will ask him about the local Los Angeles Rams a little bit more. I know he's not a football guy, but Magic, if you're listening, I'm going to ask you. So that's it. Great week ahead of us here. A strong sequence today. So let's come back tomorrow, hopefully with some winning tickets, some cashes as well. Without further ado, everyone, be healthy, stay safe, and we'll see you tomorrow.